My husband's black friend slept on our couch. Then I woke up and saw him staring at me. I was never the kind of woman who believed in gut feelings until that night. It all started when my husband, Marcus, invited his old college friend Andre to crash on our couch for a few nights. Andre had just moved to the city and needed a place to stay while getting on his feet. I didn't think much of it at the time. Marcus and Andre had been close for years, and honestly, I wanted to be supportive. He seemed polite, respectful, even a little quiet. But from the moment he stepped through our door, something about his presence made me feel watched. The first night passed uneventfully, though I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was awake long after the lights were out. I told myself I was just being paranoid, but the second night, that's when things shifted. I woke up around 3 a.m. thirsty, planning to sneak into the kitchen without waking anyone. I tiptoed through the hallway, still half asleep, but when I glanced toward the living room, I froze. There he was. Andre was sitting on the couch, wide awake, not doing anything, just staring, and not into space. He was staring directly at our bedroom door, at me. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I just stood there, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. My heart was pounding so loud I thought he might hear it. I couldn't tell if it was curiosity, anger, or something else entirely in his eyes. But in that moment, I knew something wasn't right. And then, just when I turned to go back to the room, I heard him whisper my name. Quiet. Like he'd been waiting. That's when everything started to unravel. I didn't respond. I couldn't. My feet slowly backed away from the hallway as I slipped into the bedroom and quietly closed the door behind me. I stood there in the dark, heart still racing, my mind trying to explain what I just saw. Maybe he was talking in his sleep. Maybe he didn't even know I was there. But deep down, I knew better. I lay next to Marcus, who was fast asleep, completely unaware. I watched his chest rise and fall and wondered if I should wake him. But what would I say? That his best friend was sitting in the dark whispering my name? It sounded crazy. And the last thing I wanted was to create tension between them over a feeling I couldn't even explain. The next morning, Andre acted like nothing had happened. He smiled politely, made coffee, and even offered to cook breakfast. He chatted with Marcus like usual, laughing about old college stories. I kept watching him, waiting for some sign that he remembered last night, but there was nothing. It was like it never happened. I told myself maybe I was overthinking. Maybe I had dreamed it. But that night, when Marcus went to bed early after a long day, I stayed up a bit longer, scrolling through my phone on the couch across from Andre. He was quiet again, sitting with his arms crossed, eyes on the TV, but not really watching. The room felt heavy. I could feel him glancing at me when he thought I wasn't looking. Then he said something strange. You ever wonder how people really are when no one's watching? I looked at him. He was still staring at the TV, not smiling. The way he said it sent chills down my back. I didn't know what to say, so I forced a small laugh and got up to go to bed. But as I walked away, I felt his eyes following me. For the next few days, things got even weirder. I'd find things moved around the house, little things, like a scarf I knew I left in the closet, now folded on the chair, or the faint smell of cologne in the hallway when Marcus was still at work. I started locking the bedroom door at night without telling my husband, and still, every morning, Andre acted like nothing was wrong. But the truth was, something was definitely wrong, and I wasn't sure how much longer I could pretend everything was fine. A week passed, and I felt like I was living in a stranger's home. Or maybe I was the stranger in mine. I couldn't shake the feeling that Andre was hiding something. Or worse, planning something. Every time I was alone in a room and he walked in, the air would shift. He'd say all the right things, but his eyes felt like they were always reading me, like he knew something I didn't even know about myself. Marcus remained completely blind to it all. He still laughed with Andre, watched sports with him, even left me alone in the apartment with him while he ran errands. I hated how trapped I felt. Every time I tried to bring up the strange vibe, Marcus would brush it off. "You're overthinking it," he said. "Andre's been through a lot lately. He's just adjusting." But what about me? I was the one who couldn't sleep at night, who started double locking the doors and leaving lights on when no one was home. I started making excuses to leave the apartment. Grocery trips that lasted hours, visiting friends I hadn't seen in years. I needed space, and I needed answers. I started doing what I never thought I'd do. I began looking through Andre's things when he wasn't around. His duffel bag, his notebooks, anything that might give me a clue. But everything was clean. Too clean. Then I found the photo. It was tucked in the back of one of Marcus's old college albums that Andre had apparently asked to borrow. In the picture, I saw Marcus smiling with a group of friends. But my eyes locked onto Andre, standing in the corner, staring at someone off camera. His expression was unsettling, like he wasn't even present. Behind him was a girl I didn't recognize, but something about her face felt familiar. It stayed with me long after I closed the album. Later that night, as Marcus slept and I stared at the ceiling in silence, Andre passed by our door. I heard him stop just for a moment, then a soft knock. Not loud, just enough. My blood ran cold. I didn't respond. He didn't say a word. Just silence. Then his footsteps slowly faded down the hall. And I realized, whatever this was, it had just begun. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. Every small sound made me flinch. The creak of the floorboards, the hum of the refrigerator, the occasional gust of wind tapping against the window. But it wasn't the noises that kept me up. It was the silence after the knock, the way Andre never said a word, just stood there, like he was waiting for something or someone. The next morning, I felt like a shell of myself. Marcus noticed the bags under my eyes, the way my coffee sat untouched. "Are you okay?" he asked, genuinely concerned. I wanted to scream yes, no, everything, but all I managed was a weak smile. "Just tired." Andre walked in moments later, as if on cue, whistling softly, like everything was perfectly normal. He sat at the table, across from me, his eyes scanning my face just a second too long before looking away. My skin crawled. I needed to do something, anything. That afternoon, I called Kayla, my best friend, someone who always saw through me. I hadn't told her anything yet, but when I finally did, when I spilled every strange moment, every wordless stare, every unsettling whisper, she went quiet on the other end. Then she said, "You need to look him up. Like, really look him up. Full name, background. Something's not right." The idea hit me like a jolt. Why hadn't I done that before? I waited until Marcus and Andre left for a quick store run and pulled out my laptop. I typed in Andre's full name, the one Marcus had introduced him with. But something strange came up. There was no record of him from the college Marcus claimed they went to. No photos, no student records, nothing. It was like he didn't exist there at all. My hands were shaking as I kept digging. Then I found something, a news article from another state. The headline blurred as I read, "Man questioned in missing person case. Woman disappears under mysterious circumstances." The photo was grainy, but it was him. It was Andre. I couldn't breathe. I heard the front door open. They were back. I closed the laptop in a panic, heart pounding so loud I thought they could hear it from the hallway. I didn't know what scared me more, what I had just discovered, or the fact that I was alone in this apartment, with a man I no longer believed was who he said he was. I tried to compose myself as I heard Marcus laughing with Andre in the hallway. Their footsteps grew closer, and I quickly tucked the laptop beneath the couch cushion, hoping neither of them would notice the way my hands trembled. Andre walked in first, eyes sweeping across the room. For a split second, I thought they lingered on the couch. I looked away before he could catch me staring. Marcus held up a bag. "Got your favorite ice cream," he said with a smile, but his voice felt distant. I forced a nod, my mind racing. Andre sat back on the same couch where I'd just hidden the laptop, leaning back like he owned the place. I couldn't tell if he knew. I didn't want to find out. The rest of the evening dragged like a slow nightmare. Every second felt like I was being watched, studied, sized up. I excused myself early, claiming a headache, and locked the bedroom door behind me. But I couldn't rest. I just lay there in the dark, listening. Around midnight, I heard voices, quiet, muffled. Marcus and Andre were talking in the living room. I couldn't hear every word, but one line came through clear. Marcus's voice, tense and low. "She doesn't need to know." I sat up straight. I pressed my ear to the door, heart thudding in my chest. Andre responded, his voice calm, too calm. "She's already suspicious. We can't wait much longer." Wait much longer for what? My thoughts spiraled. Was Marcus in on something? Was the man I married hiding something from me all along? My instinct screamed that I had stepped into something far bigger than I'd imagined. I had been so focused on Andre that I hadn't questioned if my own husband had secrets too. The next day, Marcus left early for work, or at least that's what he told me. But when I checked the GPS tracker app we had on our phones for emergencies, I noticed something strange. His phone wasn't at his office. It was across town, near an abandoned warehouse, a place I knew he had no reason to be. I didn't think. I grabbed my coat and keys, called Kayla, and begged her to stay on the phone with me as I drove. I needed someone to know where I was in case anything happened. When I reached the warehouse, I parked a distance away and approached on foot, staying hidden behind trees and fences. My heart pounded as I peeked through a cracked window. What I saw inside made me go cold. Marcus was standing next to Andre, and between them was a table full of photos of me. Photos I had never seen before, some from years ago, some recent, and some clearly taken without my knowledge. There were notes, too, papers, printouts, maps. It looked like they had been tracking me, studying me. I stumbled backwards, stepping on a loose branch. The sound snapped through the quiet air. Inside, both of their heads turned sharply toward the window. And I knew I had just made a terrible mistake. I ran. Branches whipped at my arms as I stumbled through the trees, heart slamming against my chest like it was trying to escape. I didn't know if they saw me clearly, but I knew they'd heard. I didn't stop to look back. I just kept moving, blindly following the path back toward the road where my car was parked. My thoughts were a blur. Betrayal, fear, confusion. Marcus wasn't just hiding something. He was part of it. I reached the car and slammed the door shut, fumbling with the keys. As soon as the engine roared to life, my phone rang. It was Marcus. I stared at the screen, hands shaking. I didn't answer. Instead, I drove straight to the police station. Telling them everything felt like letting poison out of my lungs. The strange behavior, the knock at the door, the photos, the warehouse. They took it seriously, thank God. An officer was sent to check out the location, and I was advised to stay somewhere safe. I went to Kayla's and tried to breathe for the first time in weeks. By evening, the police called me back. The warehouse was real. So were the photos. But Andre was gone, and so was Marcus. For 2 days, no one heard from either of them. I kept asking myself, why me? Why those pictures? What were they planning? Then, on the third morning, a detective knocked on Kayla's door. They had found Marcus. He was in a motel room outside the city, alone, shaken, and crying. According to him, the photos and plan weren't his idea, they were Andre's. Andre had developed an obsession with me years ago after meeting me once at a college event Marcus brought me to. I didn't even remember it, but Andre did. He'd faked the friendship to get close to me again, and Marcus, terrified but manipulated, had gone along, not realizing how dark things would get. They never found Andre. The case went cold. Weeks passed, and I tried to rebuild, tried to trust again. But then, one quiet morning, a package arrived at my door. No return address. Inside was a single photo. It was me, sleeping, and the timestamp? Last night. My hands trembled as I stared at the photo. It was definitely me, curled under the blanket in Kayla's guest room, completely unaware. The blinds had been half drawn, just enough for someone with the right angle and the right obsession. My stomach dropped. After everything, the police, the warehouse, the truth about Marcus, I thought it was over. But that photo proved one terrifying thing. Andre was still out there. The police opened an investigation again, treating it as a serious threat. They increased patrols around Kayla's house and installed a camera at her front door. I couldn't sleep for days. I kept imagining those same eyes watching me through the window, waiting for me to let my guard down. Marcus tried to reach out. He left voicemails filled with regret and apologies, but I couldn't bring myself to respond. Even if he didn't plan it all, he let it happen. He knew something was wrong and said nothing. That kind of silence, it breaks trust in a way that can't be repaired. Eventually, I moved into a small apartment in a different part of the city. I changed my number, got a new job. I even started therapy because I didn't want this fear to control me anymore. I was tired of being afraid to close my eyes, tired of wondering who might be standing just outside the frame. Kayla stayed close through it all. She reminded me who I was before any of this started, before Andre, before the lies. And slowly, I started finding pieces of myself again. Not all at once, but bit by bit. I learned to lock my doors, trust my instincts, and most of all, protect my peace. To this day, Andre has never been caught. The package was the last I ever heard from him. Maybe he moved on, or maybe he's still watching from somewhere, waiting for the right moment to step back in. But I no longer live in fear of that moment, because I know now sometimes evil doesn't come with a warning. It walks in wearing a smile, shaking hands with your husband, and sleeping just feet away from your bedroom. And the only way to survive it is to stop ignoring your instincts when something feels wrong. I listened too late once. I won't make that mistake again.